It's my great pleasure tonight to introduce our speaker and my friend, Serenella Linares of the Audubon Naturalist Society in Chevy Chase, Maryland. If, by the way, you're not familiar with the Audubon Naturalist Society, this is a great organization to further your field studies, including birding, naturally, but also botany, geology, and mycology, of course, where you would have tonight's lecturer as your instructor. I'm still looking forward to tonight's presentation and becoming illuminated about glow-in-the-dark fungi. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Saranella Linares.
Thank you very much. I am so excited to be here tonight. And I have a couple of disclaimers to do. First of all, I spent my last 5 years working as the school programs manager for Audubon Naturalist Society, which has made me a little more animated than what you might expect from one of your speakers. Fair disclaimer, I might go into shenanigans just to keep your attention, but I hope you enjoy my unique style. And the other disclaimer is that I know this is the Mycological Society of Washington, D.C., but as a responsible teacher, I have a couple slides that have mushroom basics for those of you who might be beginners and might be wanting to learn more about mushrooms in general. Okay, full disclaimers out of the way, and let's get started. So bioluminescence is something that really it's close and near to my heart. For me, it's just so exciting to see that phenomena, that natural phenomena that we can find and sort of shows us that magic is real in the natural world. Of course, nowadays we know that the magic in the natural world is called science, but still, let me dream a little bit. So the first notice that we have, or the first records that we have from bioluminescence come from very, very early or a long time ago. So in Polynesian, Siberian, and Scandinavian folklore, we can find situations in which bioluminescence has been detected in nature. There are stories across different cultures that speak about these mysterious lights, these fires that are seen over water or in the middle of the forest. And sometimes the fields were described to be of fire, so that and some of these cultures say that this luminescence is because there were dragons or gods hiding in those mountains. Now, on historical records, the very earliest record that we truly have from a scientific perspective is from Aristotle. And get this, it's around 384 to 322 before Christ. So again, really, really early. And what Aristotle was finding, he named as a cold light. And he speaks about damp woods that are giving a faint glow. Now, forward a few thousand years, and we get Christopher Columbus speaking about burning seas. And again, these records of fire or luminescence coming from the sea. which makes sense because most of the bioluminescence that we have or that there is in the world is abundance in the marine world. So what it is the bioluminescence? So bioluminescence as a term, it's what we call the phenomena of an organism creating light by itself. And it is produced by the decay of a high energy molecule into a low energy form. These molecules are proteins present in the cells. It is believed that bioluminescence happened early in the evolution as a byproduct of cellular compounds, and evolution selected towards those organisms that had that phenomena present. But to us, bioluminescence is present throughout the DMV area, even as close as in Virginia Beach. You can find tides that are bioluminescent. They are ephemeral, so it's not that if they are there present every time, but there have been reports of bioluminescence in Virginia Beach. I was lucky and unlucky because I was there by the Sandbridge beach area after a bioluminescent event. So I wasn't able to witness the phenomena itself, but I was lucky enough to find one of the sand crabs the day after at night that was full of the plankton inside. So the sand crab that I found was glowing. So didn't see the phenomena, but I found evidence that it was there the night before. So most of these we're going to see present in jellyfish, mollusks, and other animals. But why are you here today? Because fungi glow too. And there are some species that are present in our area. And just a little reminder that the bioluminescence in nature can happen because of the organism itself producing the luminescence, or because the symbiont in that animal is producing the light. So back to Aristotle. He witnesses foxfire, but it's also called fairy fire. Again, back to that magic and natural phenomena inspiring the creativity. And it is product of the reaction of luciferase and luciferin in fungi. There are two molecules that when they react, they give off light. And here is one video that will show you how that will look in wood. And this video is from Portugal. In the videos that you're gonna see tonight, the link is here, so that if you wanna watch them later at your disposal, you can. I will be sharing this presentation with Tom at the end to make it available for you. So imagine walking through the woods at night and suddenly seeing the wood around you glow like this. It's a greenish hue that is present, notice that is present in damp wood. So that gives us the idea that some of these reactions that are happening are highly dependent on water, not only by the not only by the reaction that's happening that needs water to catalyze, but also because the energy that it requires or the formation of the ATP molecule requires water to form as well. So the reduction of the proteins requires water, and ATP requires water as well. So twice. If you don't have damp wood, you might have the mushroom there persistent, but not enough water will prevent that organism from glowing the way that you want to see it. So it can be difficult because not only it requires the specific amount of water, copious amount of water to happen, but also because the light that this organism produce is fainter than the light, that the artificial light that we are used to witnessing. So to see these phenomena, it's very important that you go to a forest where there has been recently rain, and also that is far away from light pollution, so you can actually witness. You need to be walking with no lights at all. You need to allow, and if you're walking with a headlight, then once you find this mushroom, you need to turn the lights off to allow your eyes to adjust to that very, very faint glow. So I gave you the disclosure. This is one of the slides. So just as a reminder that as well as ubiquitous that these guys could be, especially in our area, most people do not know that this magic is out there. They're mostly overlooked. And if you didn't know, they are their own kingdom. I was very surprised to find out that it wasn't until late 1960s that fungi were put into their own kingdom. They were previous to that classified as plants. And can you really tell me that that looks like a plant? I'm sorry, but that does not. So that is just to give you an idea of how much the science has advanced in the past 60 years. Because of the advance of technology, we are able to see all these changing names, all these species that are continuously being described, because now we have more technology that allow us to have a closer look at species that first they weren't maybe able to, we weren't able to observe, but also to have a better analysis to them. Now, what I wanna also share with you is that the Kew Royal Botanic Gardens has put together state of the world fungi. They have two reports that I really, really like. The one published in 2018 that is all about fungi and talks about fungi around the world, and the one produced in 2020, this year, I believe last month, that talks about fungi and plants. There's a lot to be discovered. 90% of what's out there, we really have no idea. And part of it is because 98% of the time they are hidden from view. We just see the fruiting body when it comes out to reproduce. So another reminder, the larger and a item of pride for myself, the larger organism in the world, it's not a sequoia, it's not a whale, it's actually a fungus, and it is 3.7 square miles and has been growing more than 2,000 years old. Pero a lo que vinimos. So what we came to. So fungal roles in the ecosystem, you know them. And if not, here they are. They are decomposers of plants and animals, but there are also many symbionts, meaning that they allow other organisms to be alive, both plants and animals. And if you know of an animal that is eating a plant product, there is a fungus that is there in the gut helping that animal or that organism to digest the plant material and break cellulose. So how are they related to Earth? Well, fungi are part of the crown phylogenetic group, meaning the most modern, the latest trend in evolution as compared to the rest of the living organisms. And just as a reminder, we have one huge fossil of a fungus. It is 8 meters tall. It was originally thought to be a conifer, but later research showed to be a fungus. So, two glowing mushies. So, how do they glow? Why do they glow? Well, some of them will have fruiting body with only the cap that is glowing. Some of it, the entire cap might glow. Some of it will grow the mycelium, but not the cap. And where the fungus glow may speak to what mechanism of dispersal or what type of message they are trying to convey. So usually fruiting bodies that are glowing do not have glowing mycelium, and fungi that glow the mycelium usually doesn't have fruiting bodies that glow. But still, the bioluminescence in fungi is one aspect of research that is very new compared to other fungal research. So there is a lot there to discover. What do we know right now is that there are about 80 species of fungi that we know of that are capable of glowing in the dark or that are bioluminescent, and most of them are the white spored agaricomycetes. So not all white spored agaricomycetes glow, but those that do glow are mainly in that group. And there are a great number of luminescent species in the Mycanaceae family. So in here, I have a table for those of you who wanna get into the nitty gritty of how many species there are and where are they found. And so you can see if they glow the mycelium or they glow the fruiting body. Some of them glows in particular parts and others not. So in our area, 27 species, and I'm including in Puerto Rico because In these 26 species, I'm talking about the United States. So in here, there are, and this is something that I was really surprised to see when I started doing research about bioluminescence in fungi. I did not know that there were so many species in the United States. And certainly I didn't know that we had so many. I only knew of one or two. And I have to give a shout out to Mitch that did present a bioluminescent species today. Good. So whoever found Armillaria tabescens, you found a bioluminescent fungus. Sadly, is one of those species that it's not going to glow the mushroom itself, but the very tips of the young rhizomes, when they are still red, that part, it's going to be bioluminescent. Now, the couple species that I have personally experienced and during the daytime, because I don't tend to walk out in the forest a lot, is at night, is Panellus stypticus or bitter oysterling. And that one, it's really, really, really common. Almost in every park that I have been in the Maryland state, I have seen Panellus stypticus. It's really common. It goes in dead, decomposing wood, and it's a very tough little mushroom. So it's a good likelihood that if you go out looking for bioluminescent species, you will find Panellus. Omphalotus, and there are a couple of species of Omphalotus in the region, in the United States anyway. And that is reported to be bioluminescent as well. And I start to chuckle because if you go out looking for the entry for Omphalotus illudens in Mushroom Expert, you are going to have a ball. I don't know how many of you have read it, but Michael Q, who is the curator of Mushroom Expert, has written almost an essay about how every time that he has gone out, he has been trying to see jack-o'-lantern glow, and that at this point he believes that everybody is in cahoots, and if that you send him a picture, you are part of the same people that created the picture of the monster in the lake nest. So so take a moment when this presentation is over, of course, to go read the entry for Omphalotus illudens in Mushroom Expert. Another of the bioluminescent species that I didn't know about also much is Mycena hematopus. And it's quite common in our area as well. If you head out into the woods and you start looking at logs that are worn, like they're in advanced decomposition and they have lost the bark already, if you look in the cracks of those logs, you might find Mycena hematopus. And I love it, because when I was hanging out with my kiddos, it was the joke of, oh my God, look at the mushroom bleed. So I will take the mushroom stipe, rake it, and put a drop of blood in the little finger to the dismay of some and the wonder of others. It's always so much fun. So it's a really common mushroom to witness. But I've been speaking a while now about mushrooms that glow. And why is that? Why are they glowing? So let's see if you can spot in this video. Take a close look at the gills of the mushrooms that you're gonna see. So you can tell me in the chat box, why might they be glowing?
So we're searching for something that you can only really appreciate after dark. We're searching for bioluminescent mushrooms.
Here's one.
Bioluminescence is the ability by living organisms to produce and emit light. And among mushrooms, there's actually quite a few species that can do this. As you can see on the mushroom that I put on the leaf here, on the normal light, they don't look all that special, just small and pale looking. But it's when we turn the lights off that we see these guys glow for real.
This light here is produced through a chemical reaction. And what's happening inside of this mushroom is that a molecule called luciferin reacts with oxygen together with energy and an enzyme called luciferase, which speeds up the whole process. And there's energy produced in this reaction. And this energy excites electrons in the luciferin molecule. And this means that the electrons get a little bit more energy than normal. And when the electrons go back to their normal state, the extra energy is released as light. If you compare this light to a normal light bulb, the light that the mushroom emits is actually much more efficient.
Look at the
The
gills.
light bulb emits light because it gets really hot, but the mushroom doesn't get warm at all. In fact, almost all energy that is produced by this reaction is converted to light. Hence its nickname, cold light.
Well, the light-emitting luciferin-luciferase system is also found in many other organisms, but they're
All right, so I want to see who has an idea of why do they glow. I can see the chat, people. If you want to tell me in the chat. Ooh, Annie says that it attracts insects that spread spores. And Will went into the chemical reaction. Electron drops down in energy level in atoms. Well, you're both right, but I was looking for the biological answer. So yes, in some of the mushrooms, there might be that they are sending a message out to invertebrates in the forest. Come eat me, I am delicious. And by the way, take my babies away, would you? So many of these fungi might be sending messages to be dispersed.
Right now, we're not sure why the fungi bioluminesce. And that's what we're trying to do right now. Let's figure out why. So organisms bioluminesce for various reasons, but it's probably all started out from just basic detoxifying processes that happen in the cells. And some of the antioxidants, as they break down, give off light. As these traits evolve, other organisms go on to gain additional functions, like fireflies use their light system for mating and communication between species. A lot of that also happens inside the marine environment. But right now, we're not exactly clear as to why mushrooms do it. The experiment that I'm performing out in the field is an ecology experiment where we are trying to understand the interaction of the mushrooms with insects. And so to do this, we're using fake acrylic mushrooms that we've produced in the lab and putting them out in the field covered in glue. Some of them have an LED light that has about the same wavelength as the mushrooms. So it's producing the same colored light. And so
Ooh.
are repelled by the light and which insects just don't to the light traps. And by looking at the two sets of data, we can tease apart, which insects are attracted to the light and which insects are repelled by the light and which insects just don't care about the light. Through this, we can better understand the interaction of these mushrooms with their environment. It's very likely that the bioluminescence from the mushrooms has some ecological significance in the forest. Based off of our early results or early data, it definitely looks like insects are attracted to the mushrooms. Now, what role those insects are doing requires further study. Fungi are at this special moment right now where the research is really beginning to progress, and we're likely to figure out the mechanism within the next few years.
So there you have it. There are some mushrooms with neon signs in the forest floor. So in the local area here, what type of mushrooms are you very likely to find that are bioluminescent? Well, let's start with one of the most common species here, which is Armillaria malea and its friends, because we have a couple species of Armillaria in the area, and it looks like a few of those are bioluminescent. Again, not the mushroom itself, but actually the rhizomorphs. And here in the bottom, I have a picture of what the rhizomorphs would look like. So this is a tree pathogen that it's going to attack the cambium layer. That's why it's under the bark. And you're gonna see these rhizomorphs in growing in that layer. It is when they are very young and red that they are reported to be bioluminescent. Once they get to this black, very heavily melanized state, which is the dormant state, they're preparing to survive the winter, then the light is not present anymore. Armillaria malea is one of the most widespread of all bioluminescent species, and it can be found around the globe. And by the way, it is a sibling to the biggest organism in the world. So these guys have been growing for a very, very long time. It's very interesting to know that these mushrooms or these fungi have a circadian rhythm to their bioluminescence. So they are not glowing all the time. And that makes, energetic sense, because who wants to be paying for lights during the daytime? You wouldn't want to pay for lights that you don't need in the daytime, right? So the mushrooms do the same. They only intensify that light when they are more likely to be visible. For the Armillaria malea species, that peak of intensity, it's around 7:30 p.m. and it goes away at 7:30 p.m. just as the sun is high in the sky. So that gives you an idea on how even mushrooms have to be conscious about the energy that they spend. Another of the local friends, and one that I introduced to you as already, is Panellus stypticus, or the bitterling oysterling. One of the things that I find quite striking about this little guy is that not only is it bioluminescent, but it's also fluorescent. So in the top right here, it's a little experiment that I did here in my house. So picture me coming all excited to my house and grabbing a blanket and my camera in my desktop and going, I want to see you glow. So I did that for a couple of nights in a row and was very, very excited. But before I was able to see it glow, I was able to point a flashlight, a UV flashlight, which is a lot of fun. I would recommend it to everyone, to see what part of the mushrooms, if any, were luminescent. And in here, you're seeing the same log. So look at how the gills look under normal light conditions in the lower picture. And if I use my laser, you might see things better. So right here, same log under normal conditions. And this is how the cap looks from the top side. And then here is that flashlight pointed at the mushroom, which then gives it that violet or purple hue. But look at the gills. The gills are glowing or are fluorescing in that very faint green. And if you look at the bark of the tree, it also shows some green fluorescent. So if you're bored and you want to see things that are quite unusual, may I suggest a fluorescent light and the forest. Good luck, Godspeed. So again, Omphalotus illudens, another of the species that are fluorescent, that are bioluminescent and very common in our area. They are so common that I have been driving through Tacoma Park and I have seen it from the car. And this is something, don't tell the police, but this is something I do very often. I identify mushrooms as I am driving. I'm sure many of you can relate. But so yes, it's very close to us and you can see it. Now, as I mentioned, there might be some trickery on how to observe this. So make sure that the mushroom that you are trying to observe the phenomena at, it's really young, fairly moist. If you're gonna bring it home, make sure that you have a wet paper towels at the base and cover it so that the mushroom doesn't dry out. I am reading the chat from Mitch that says that you had a presenter say that some collections of Panelos stypticus don't glow. Mine glowed, but again, it might be that he was using a mushroom that wasn't totally fresh. This being a really tough mushroom, it has the ability to dry out, and as you dehydrate it, it will look as new, but now it has lost the ability to glow that second time or that second life that it has. So some of it might be that you have a mushroom that is not freshly emerged. And yeah, the adjusting the lights, the adjusting your eyes to the light helps. Now, I forgot to mention that, excuse the poor quality, but it's the one I got, so I'm proud of it. So on top of here, on top of this beautiful gift extracted from the internet. The top picture is actually my photo. So it's this same collection that was taken under normal light, under fluorescent conditions, and then under the blanket with my camera really excited pointing at it. So I was lucky. But yeah, sometimes you collect the mushroom and you don't see it glow. It has happened to me with Omphalotus, and it has happened to Michael Q with Omphalotus. So we can all feel better about ourselves. So yeah, we talked about this guy, Mycena hematopus or bleeding mycena. You're very lucky because it goes from spring to fall. So you have a really wide timing for observing this mushroom, and you're going to observe it frequently in the decomposing wood of hardwood. If you go looking, there's another species that it's called Mycena sanguinolenta, and some people say that this grows on or close to conifers. As I mentioned, the blood secretion comes out when you cut the stem, but sometimes you can coax it out near the gills, and this is one of the pictures that I took. Is the same. The three pictures are of the same observation. Ay, caramba. Okay, never mind. Don't worry. I don't need it. Mycena sanguinolenta, bleeding mycena number 2. Now these pictures are certainly not mine. The picture in the right is beautiful specimen captured by Alan Rockefeller on Mushroom Observer. If you have been paying attention to mushroom groups on Facebook, you might see that he is administration of a couple of them. So he has some beautiful photography on a number of mushrooms, as well as DNA extraction and analysis. So yeah, Mycena sanguinolenta at the first impression might look quite similar to Mycena hematopus, but this one is smaller, associated or the dead wood of conifers, or growing terrestrially growing terrestrially close to conifer. Mitch, you want to explain that last comment?
Oh, it's just, it looks like they have a marginate gills, meaning that the very end of the gill has different cells on it that are a different color. So it looks
yes,
like,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you. So a little bit smaller, but they can look quite similar. So for those of you sending pictures every time to Mitch, and for the beginners, I always have this slide here just as a reminder, because I love to go to a naturalist to help myself grow, and trying to learn different species that other people are collecting in the area. But you know, having the full picture is so good. And it helps when we're trying to find what it is that you found. So make sure that to please have a picture that shows the top, the bottom, the attachment, whether it is to a tree or to the ground or to an insect. It's really important to see that point of attachment, to see clearly the cap, the margin that, that Mitch was talking about, to see the gills perfectly. So sharp pictures, always appreciated. And a little trick that sometimes I do for myself is when I am hurrying because I have someone that doesn't love fungi so much as I do, I have to go a little quicker than I would normally go. In those cases, I have an app on my phone that I can write directly on the mushroom so that I can later remember how it smelled like and how it tasted like. So you may wanna do that with the pictures that you sent for identification. Do not swallow. Taste test is done with an inch or smaller of the mushroom, masticated, macerated in your mouth, and allow it to mix with your saliva for 30 seconds, and then spit it out. Me, I have a bottle of water that I rinse my mouth just in case I don't like the taste of that particular mushroom. So that might be a good idea to do. And then record that data to help you learn what it is that you're observing. Certainly, iNaturalist is a free app that you can say, that you can download, so that it helps you ID what you're seeing. And be aware that the algorithm of the software itself, it's not wonderful, not by any means of the imagination. Some mushrooms are dead on. Some mushrooms may come like an anemone, but what it's really good about iNaturalist is the community of experts that are constantly curating those observations. All right, so I have one last thing to show you, which is the most beautiful thing I ever seen. And I gotta show it to you, but I have to stop sharing this and share this one.
It's surprising how little we know about bioluminescence. Fireflies are perhaps the best understood, but some living light is still very perplexing indeed. With dawn, the sexual signals of the fireflies are drowned by the increasing flood of light. The flies take refuge in the undergrowth, away from the sharp-eyed predators of the day. But right now, light is being produced by life in the soil under my feet. The threads of certain fungi form a glowing underground network. But why would a fungus shine in the permanent darkness of the soil? We simply don't know. And for years, fungus bioluminescence, like much other living light, was written off as a beautiful byproduct of evolution with no function. But some species only glow above ground, and only at night, when their intense green light is very obvious. If it was just a biochemical accident, then surely they would shine all the time. The glow certainly attracts insects, and the theory is that these visitors spread the fungal spores. So here too, just as with fireflies, we're learning new things all the time.
Okay, so that is one of my favorite people in the world, which is David Attenborough, creator of the Attenborough effect, has us all looking at nature in a new light. Let's see, we are almost over, people. I want to keep and be respectful of your time. In this slide, you're going to get quite a few resources, some of my favorite places to visit. And I want to bring your attention to the right-hand side of this resources list, because if you like visuals like the ones presented today, the mushrooms on the right-hand side, they are taken by Steve Oxford, and his mycological photography is to die for. He is wonderful. So if you need to relax and you want to look at wonderful mycological pictures, check him out. There's many ways to increase your mycological knowledge by interacting with more people, and Facebook is one of those places that you could interact as well. And here are some of the groups that I have been following. And lately, I have gotten into the habit of getting my iPad out to teach my students by taking pictures of mushrooms, micro photography with an adapter, and having an ebook that I can compare side by side the picture that we take with the description and the pictures in the book. It's really good for me. So for that particular reason, I love having Ascomycetes of North America, and here is the link for that, but you can download it from Apple, Kindle, and Google Play. And Tim Baroni wrote a beautiful book that is also available, downloaded as an ebook, and here is also the link for that. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share with you my shenanigans a little bit tonight, and a topic that I really, really enjoy. If you want to add some more fungal zooms to your life, check out our website, anshome.org/naturalisthour. During the month, we go through several nature-themed topics, but me being the coordinator and the mycophile that I am, I always have one fungi-focused talk in the month. So check us out. Thank you so much, and I am be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much, Saranella. Wonderful tour of the world of light. Lucifer would be proud, I guess. So, as our way we do this kind of is Elizabeth, who's the host, I believe, on this, she looks through the chat room and sees if there's any questions and tries to put anything like that together. So, Elizabeth, can you curate from here on?
Yeah, there was one question. People sort of buying into the concept that the mushrooms, the fruiting bodies, might be glowing to attract insects, but why would the rhizomorphs glow?
That is still, I haven't found anything that speaks directly to that. I can give you my educated guess, because although we know of a lot of invertebrates that are glowing in, that are inhabiting on top of the underground, there are many invertebrates that inhabit the top of the soil. So there might be messages that the fungi are sending out to invertebrates that are underground. Some in the kingdom Animalia, some of the invertebrates that glow in the dark are sending a message not to eat me, but actually don't eat me because I am venomous. So whether that is a model that the underground mycelium is replicating, or is there something else on play, we sincerely don't know yet.
And Tom is speculating in the comments that it could be that they're attracting insects that are then eating nematodes that might be eating the rhizomorphs or something like that. So yeah.
Correct.
Like
We
lots
do
more to
have a lot of that parasitoid interaction where, especially in the kingdom plantae, where you have the plant attracting the parasite of the parasite because I need help. So again, those are valid theories that have examples in the tree of life. We just don't know enough at this point of what exactly they're doing.
Cool. Lots of great comments just saying this was so fun. And do you have a website where you have other presentations, or should people just go to the ANS website?
It's just the ANS website. For the month of December, we are going to make available the presentations that happened through the summer and fall for purchase. So that will start the first week of December, fingers crossed. But going forward from today on, we still have presentations. Every month we are having around 6 for December because I need a vacation, and 6 for January. But usually we hit about 11 or 12 presentations per month. And we talk about soil, birds, and of course, fungi, because I'm there. Check us out, and thank you.
I had one comment and one question. Just simpler to ask it this way. The comment is, I don't think you mentioned it during your presentation, but I think it's a fascinating little anecdote. The very first submarine that was ever used, it was called the Turtle during the Revolutionary War. This is in 1775, I believe. And since that predates a battery-powered lantern, or you certainly wouldn't want to light a candle inside of an enclosed small submarine, they used foxfire to illuminate the instrumentation inside of that craft. The question that I had is, since we presume that fungi that glow in the dark are doing that to attract insects for spore dispersal, is it likely that there are a lot more fungi that are emitting light, but only in the UV spectrum that we aren't necessarily seeing? And insects, of course, would still be able to see that.
That is interesting. However, okay, short answer, I don't know. Educated guess. UV spectral light would be more energetic than the light that we are observing. If you go back to the physics basics, chances the energy that you need to emit in UV is higher than the energy that you need to emit in the visible and the IR spectrum, right? So it would require a whole more energy, and I don't think that those invertebrates that are nocturnal have the same UV perception capabilities that do the invertebrates that are diurnal. That characteristic must have evolved with rhythm, like with the sun. So it makes sense to me that the ones that are glowing at night may not have the ability to see in there. But again, this is just me sounding things out to you, because the correct answer is, I don't know. But it's really a really interesting topic for research. Certainly the knowledge that I have been able to gather, was presented here, but it's not, I don't know that any research so far has looked into UV emittance. Thank you for that. That's quite a good question. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Elizabeth, or anybody else want to chime in? We're ready to secure for the evening.
Real quick, I don't know that you mentioned where the hematopus glows, or like.
Oh, very good. So if we go back to the table that I presented, I believe is the mycelium and the fruiting body. Let me look. Yep. So hematopus is reported to be both mycelium and fruiting body.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it's 9:10 or so, so I think it's time to wrap up for the evening. Thank you very much, all the presenters, particularly, well, all of you. I can't, but the bioluminescent was a good closure. So we'll see you all first Tuesday in December, back to our normal schedule, unless we have some other event that would, of a national occurrence, which we all can't predict at this point. So with that, I bid you all good night, and we'll talk to you soon.